Our next speaker, Alanna Shipley, will be talking to us about how DoorDash has leaned into consumer insights and how those insights have informed their latest brand evolution. Alanna is an insights veteran and has spent the last 15 years in various insights roles for brands such as Olay, Oral-B, and Levi's. Most recently, she has established and has been leading the marketing insights function at DoorDash, and her team's work informs DoorDash's branding, messaging, and product strategies for their merchants, as well as their Dashers and their consumers. We at YCCI have been lucky enough to work with Alanna pretty closely for the last couple of years on some collaborations. So you're in for a treat today. She actually tells us that she would be a talk show host if Insights doesn't work out. And I think you're about to find out why. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Alanna Shipley.
They should give me like walkout music, like I am a talk show host. It's nice. All right, they put me out there snack time, like at the end of the day. This is a whole thing. I got energy, so at least I got that going for me. So like the introduction showed today, what I'm going to be talking about today is how we've used insights to kind of make our brand be known for more than what you probably started with DoorDash with, which is restaurant delivery. So I'm going to walk you through a whole story as it relates to that, and hopefully leave some time at the end so that you guys could ask questions, just in case you don't like the presentation. If you ask me a question, then you'll like what I said afterwards. So, all right, so breaking out of our shell, who is Alanna? This is me. First off, from this slide, you can tell I like to work in Photoshop and do random stuff in Photoshop, so that's part of me. I have always been in insights for my entire career. It was one of those things where my first internship, I actually lost the internship to one of my friends. She got the brand marketing internship, and I was mad at her because she went to the college I wanted. She got my job I wanted, and then they were like, oh, you're gonna be in research. I was like, you gotta have me at the mall, like asking people questions, surveys, this is ridiculous. And then I discovered, I was like, oh, this is so great. It's basically the psychology of business, and it ended up being my perfect job. So that's why I've been in my entire career kind of carrying out there. Outside of work, I come from the Midwest, so I'm come from Ohio. That is where I'm born and raised, but my heart was always in California because I hate winters. So I moved out to California. Now I moved back to Ohio and figuring out my life after that. And I am auntie life. I don't have any kids myself, so I just get to like spend money on kids and then go home. So that's great. And as you can kind of tell, I like to talk about anything but work. But I will get back to work. I just wanted to give you guys some introduction on myself. All right, so as they kind of mentioned in the intro, there are some brands that I've worked on throughout the years. Here are a few of them. So Crest, Olay, Levi's, Oral-B, Clear Blue, Dockers. Of course, we're talking about DoorDash today. But the reason why I brought up these brands with this particular topic is with this one thing, which is how old they are. So Levi's is 171 years old. We got Oral-B at 74 years old. We got Olay at 72 years old. Crest, 70 years old. Clear Blue are youngsters here that I worked on, 39 years old, and Dockers at 38 years old. And this is really, really important for the topic today, where I talk about like how do we actually make DoorDash turn and be the perception of DoorDash to be more than restaurant, because DoorDash is 11 years young, barely. It's like 10 years and like 11 months years old. And I point that out because one of the things that we're running through is that we're kind of like a toddler brand overall. We're like getting to know ourselves, feel a little awkward. We think that we want to break out of our shell. And I'm seeing that because the insights that I used to work on with these other companies, they were well established. So I was more about keeping the train going, keeping people associated with the things that the brands worked so long to associate themselves with. But with DoorDash, what I'm finding myself into is that the brand started off being known for restaurant delivery very specifically. And right now they're like, but we want to be known more than that. We actually deliver any item that you want from any of the stores nearby you. We want you to associate us with that. And so that is where the brand is kind of reforming itself, but I will jump into that in a second. Let me give you some history on DoorDash for those who don't follow it like I have had to for my job. Okay, so we started off in 2013. DoorDash was established. About in the first 2 years, we had Canada launch in 2015. We had 1 million deliveries. That was a big deal in 2015. And in 2015, we also launched DashPass, which is our subscription program service. Then in 2019, we became the #1 food delivery brand. So we actually outdid, people usually think it's Uber Eats, it was Grubhub. Grubhub was like the part that actually started this. They had a humongous market share when we started within here, but we were able to take over that #1 spot for food delivery. And that's when our wave started really picking up. You see in 2019, we also launched Australia. We acquired Caviar. Caviar at the beginning, it was like before, I don't know if you guys remember, like before COVID, people usually only like got Chinese food and pizza delivered. That was the only thing we really trusted. We didn't get like 5-star like restaurants and such. Well, Caviar had a unique positioning at the time where they were actually working with restaurants for those fancy restaurants, premium restaurants, and getting that delivered. And that was like very unique at that time, which is why we brought them in. But then 2020 hit, and then everybody was getting anything delivered. So 2020 is when we actually saw 1 billion deliveries, going from 1 million to 1 billion. 2020 is also when we went public. 2021, Japan launched. 2021, we also had 2 billion deliveries, so a lot less time in between 1 billion to 2 billion. Germany launched in 2021 as well. 2022, we got to 3 billion deliveries. In May, we actually launched in New Zealand. We also acquired Volt, and Volt is really big within the European market, so that instantly shot us into a lot more countries. Now we're at 30 plus. I lost count after a while there. And then we get to 2023, which last year we actually had our 10-year anniversary, and we had a really big kind of change to our app overall, just like the look and feel, which actually aligned us closer to being what we call new verticals, which is non-restaurant delivery, and really lining up to what I'm going to talk to you today about with the brand. But the biggest thing that actually happened was in 2021 when the audience insights team was established. As they mentioned, that is when I came over to DoorDash, and they said, hey, you want to start an insights group overall, which felt like a really, really cool challenge until they didn't tell me I was going to be by myself for 6 months, but then I had to deliver everything in a week's time, which was crazy overall. But that is when the insights teams came in, and that is when our journey began of how do we actually build in insights into the marketing strategies that we're putting together. And I'll talk about what that brought. So let me take you back visually to what you would see in DoorDash in 2019. So what you're seeing here is our campaign at the time. It was called Delicious Delivered, and that was in 2019. You'll see that we really emphasize the types of restaurants that we deliver because, again, back in the day, many people really trusted delivery for pizza and certain cuisines, but not necessarily think outside the box, and that's what we were focused on. I'm going to show you the ad that we had. I think that should turn to a little video. Oh, it's like a nice, like, slow in. That is a video. Nope, it's not. How do I do that? Can someone help me go back? Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can. Nope. Am I going back? Okay. How do I click that video? They'll click it for me. Yes, I'm sorry. I was the one that was like, let's put a video in a corner, not a whole slide, because that's fun for them. No, I just did this last week and it was a video. Okay, well, hopefully the other ones will. That's all right. It's a video, and it like introduces a lot of different cuisines for DoorDash, and it's fun, and they go on the phone, and it's all cute. Okay, hopefully the future ones will work out. If not, I'll just act them out. So in 2020, what we actually did is we expanded a little bit further. So we are focusing on, in the prior campaign, we were focusing on the different types of restaurant foods. And here what we wanted to do was elevate the brand into like, okay, you now know we have different types, but let me tell you that we have like specialty types of food to really get you into that premium nature. So as I shared with you earlier, we had acquired Caviar, so we wanted to really get that kind of eclectic taste and food and make sure that we are capturing that. So you'll see kind of a difference in what we were looking at before versus what we're seeing here. We may have a video on this one. Let's see if we're lucky. Are we going to say that's not a video too? Let's see. Nope. Are there any videos in here? Because I have so many of them. Okay. What'd you say? Okay, sorry. I promised they were videos. They played earlier today, but maybe not right now. Okay, so that would have been a really cool wrap about different cuisines. We actually worked with it was kind of a cool overall campaign where they were going in and out different restaurant styles and really focusing in on the premium nature side of things, but also doubling down on food itself. So what I was going to build off of after those two was, it was very clear that in 2020 and before, we really emphasized restaurants and specifically looked at that overall. But the brand now was saying, well, okay, now that we got that down, we're #1 in the food delivery. We really want to become more than, known for more than that overall. How do we actually do that? And one of the things that we really look at is, what are some other brands that have done this? What are other brands that have broken out of the box that they initially had? The one that usually comes to mind and is kind of like the top dog for this is going to be Amazon. How did they become, everyone has talked about, they started off as a bookstore. This is kind of one of the earlier pictures of the owner and what they were kind of looked like at the beginning. And now they turn into what is people kind of describe as the everything store overall. And there's a lot of different steps that actually made them go from there to where they are today. As a researcher, I wanted to kind of get into what are some other brands that maybe are unexpected, at least for myself, that started off different than what they are today. So I wanted to share those with you guys before I get back to DoorDash. So the first off is, I wanted to see, man, this is not showing properly. Okay, this is a logo on top of here, and this logo should be Tiffany's. I was like, that black box is a Tiffany logo. Do you guys know what Tiffany's actually started off to be? No, I didn't know either. It was a stationery store, actually, is what the lovely jewelry store actually started off as a stationery store at the beginning. And I had the year that's in there, but it's hidden, so I can't remember it, but it's in there. It's really early on, but that's a picture of the store. Next, we have another one here, which is Nintendo. Do people know what, somebody in my last one actually knew what Nintendo started off as. Does anyone in here know what Nintendo started as? I was very surprised by that guy. He was confident. What'd you say? Playing cards. You better get it. I don't even know who said that. It was playing cards. Beautiful, beautiful Japanese playing cards. They actually still sell them today. The year is here, so we're doing better than the last slide. So it's 1889, where they started off as Japanese playing cards, and they do still sell them. Next, we have Nokia. I think everyone is of age to know the Nokia phones back in the day. I know sometimes the last group I saw, they were like, what's Nokia? I only know iPhones and Samsung. But Nokia, do you know what they started off as? So the electronic. Ooh. Oh gosh, I didn't even, you guys know all time. They've been through some transformation. Telephone poles, we got the boots and tires. They actually started as a paper mill, but it makes sense to go from raw little materials to making anything but an actual phone. So they actually started off as a paper mill in 1865, but then to your guys' point of the different categories, when I was looking over their history, they have transformed a lot of different ways. And even right now, they're actually getting more into AI and kind of more that side of technology overall, which is interesting that they're still around. And then my final one on here, LG, so the electronics, there's a lot of electronics that start different. But electronics, LG, Life Good, anyone know what this started as? I didn't know either. It was a cosmetic brand. Who would have thought that? So clearly this is 1947. This was their cosmetic Lucky cream. They then came out with other Lucky products. And then eventually, that's how they actually had the start of the Life is Good, which is what the LG stands for, end up in electronics. Rest is history. But the whole point of why I bring this up is there are other brands that started off as something different that we can learn from and that I utilize to kind of study from the standpoint of how do you actually change that perception from one thing to the next thing to the next to get you to where we are thinking about today. So back to DoorDash, the place that I'm at. So the question that we have here, how do we use insights to be no more than just restaurant delivery? The three things that I'm going to, that used to say three. I just want you to say, I don't know what deck I sent y'all. I apologize. It might be me. I don't know what happened, but it used to say 1, 2, 3. The three things that I'm going to get over. It's actually kind of fun. I'm like, what's on my slide? The three things that we're going to talk about is brand health research, creative testing, and ad hoc lifestyle research. These are the three immediate things that I actually incorporated in the company. Brand health research was actually the easiest. Pretty much when you're working with brand marketers, they're cool with getting a health report overall. Creative testing wasn't as easy to get integrated because creative people they think they're like, oh, no one could have predicted the iPhone. Research couldn't predict that. So I don't really like that very much. But we have won them over, which I'll talk you guys through. And then finally, ad hoc lifestyle research. This is the ad hoc research that we do, which actually helps inform occasions, and the YCCI group has actually helped us with this. So I'm going to go a little bit over each and show you some information, hopefully some ads, maybe or maybe not. We'll start off with brand health. So the first thing when I came in, we actually had a health tracker when I started, but it was a very bare bone health tracker, and it wasn't really answering and evolving with where the brand wanted to be at. So the first thing that I actually did was, how do I actually optimize our health tracker to gain a baseline understanding of what the consumer brand perceptions were and what they were considering us for, so that we can build off of that and measure that. What that actually looked like is I took the brand tracker that we had at the time and I worked upon it. So first off, our original health tracker only surveyed those consumers that had gotten food delivery, because that's the things that we cared about. Since we were trying to be known for more than food delivery, I switched that to now our survey goes among those who have gotten anything delivered in a specific time period. That immediately gives you a different population that you're asking about, and will immediately get you lined up with who you are trying to actually transfer over to the brand. The other thing was, all of our questions in the original one was about the brand perception as a food delivery brand. So we would ask consumers, do you trust us as a food delivery brand? Do you trust them as a food delivery brand? Clearly, we're trying to be known for more than that. So what I actually changed that to is what we call the master brand perception. So it's really just about, do you know DoorDash? Period. Do you know our competitors? Period. And then what do you associate with DoorDash as a full brand, not just about us as a food delivery brand. In the original one, we only asked one level of perception, so we just kept it at that food level. In addition to that master brand, I have actually added in multiple categories level perception. So not only am I asking and getting a feedback from our consumers on how we look as an overall brand, but I'm also getting feedback on what do we look as a brand as it relates to beauty delivery, as it relates to grocery delivery, different levels of categories we are actually asking on a consistent basis, so I can get both that minor detail as well as understand what they think about us overall. And then finally, we were comparing DoorDash to other food delivery brands. So anything that we were getting about us, we were getting other food delivery brands. However, since we want to become more than that, we're actually comparing our brand now to a broader list of delivery brands. So anything from Target.com to Amazon, and not just looking at the Uber Eats of the world. Just this by itself enabled us to really understand where do we stand today or at the time, and then that is where we can build off of from that going forward. So to give you some initial results overall, what we actually saw, there's many stats that we kind of look at, but one of the top ones that we like to start off with is at the top of the funnel of any health tracker, which is awareness. And what you see here is relative to restaurants, which is that first bar, what are the other categories at the time did they associate with DoorDash from awareness level? Do they know that we actually deliver these items? And what you'll see is, to no surprise, all the other categories that we have here is much lower than awareness of DoorDash has it. And we know that that is the first starting part of any building block. You can't use anything that you don't know exists. So this will really give us our baseline perspective. And these are just some of the categories. We actually track more than these that you see on the screen. Okay. Then what we actually had is the next part is we started talking about creative development and testing. So if there's anybody that has entered into a situation like me where you're actually launching something brand new and testing and getting people comfortable with testing and testing their babies and telling them that they're ugly and they don't like that very much. And one of the biggest things that happens is in your actual creative itself. So it was a really big uphill battle when I came in and I said, hey, I want to test our copy. I want to test our TV copy. I want to test our print and all the visuals that we're doing among the group of people that are actually doing it. Because DoorDash is unique where inside our actual brand itself, we actually have a co-creative studio. So half of the stuff that gets produced from our brand is actually created in-house. We do not actually use an external vendor to do that or an external agency. What's great about that is that it really connects to what the business is doing overall. What's bad about that is when I come back with results to say things aren't so good, I'm actually making one of my colleagues feel sad. So it was a really big uphill battle, but we did really learn a lot as it relates to creative testing. And hopefully I can show you some of those as we're going. But I'll start off with this. So in August of 2020, DoorDash expanded its operations. That's when we doubled down on the first category outside of restaurant that we really doubled down on, which was grocery and convenience stores. And it included our very own Dash Mart, which is our own grocery and convenience store. And in order to really bring a big splash for that, in 2021, DoorDash launched the neighborhood campaign, which was our very first Super Bowl ad. And that was to really bring to light, okay, the first category outside of restaurant that we really want you to know is for groceries. So let's see if this is an ad that plays. Yes.
Sorts of things delivered from the neighborhood.
The neighborhood?
All from the people in your neighborhood. The people that you meet when you're walking down the street. They're the master chef. The burger flipper too. The corner store owner bagging low-fat milk with gum and pink shampoo. They're the culinary artists with delicious cuisines.
That famous cookie shop in the magazine.
All that?
Well, you can also get empanadas down the street.
Mango smoothie, sweet and
From
tart.
the big shops to the mom and pops, they can bring it to me a la carte.
Hey!
They're the people that you meet each day. Get more from your neighborhood, from convenience to corner stores. DoorDash.
I'm all right.
And for every order, we'll donate $1 to Sesame Workshop.
That was also, you can tell, was after a big 2020 surge of money because we bought a minute and a half during Super Bowl, which is really expensive. We never did that again. But anyhow, side note. So we tested this ad, but I tested this afterwards in creative testing. And the results are down below here. We actually test 3 different things when we do creative testing. We try to understand breakthrough, which is really about, does it break through the clutter? If it was amongst a million different ads, do you actually remember it? Brand linkage, do they know that it was a DoorDash commercial? And then finally, behavior change, which is like, did it make you want to do something different? And what we see in this ad is that it wasn't that good with breakthrough or brand linkage. I was nice, I made them yellow, they should have been red, but you don't want to get too mad at people overall. But we did have good behavior change. It actually did make them, for those that were understanding that it was DoorDash, they actually did make them want to actually use DoorDash more. So here are the learnings specific to this ad that we actually learned by using creative testing. First, it catches attention. So these are the things that did very well. It caught people's attention. It integrated characters in an authentic way. So we're on, who doesn't know Sesame Street? Who doesn't know the neighborhood of Sesame Street? That feels great. This man is on Hamilton. Like, come on. We got some really interesting people that people loved at that time. That was working very well. What didn't work very well overall was that it wasn't an effective display of recognizable brand assets. You did not see any DoorDash logo, colors, any of the big things that you kind of associate with us anyway throughout. That's what actually hurt us on brand linkage. It lacked a single-minded, clear action. So what did they want us to do? There's just this, fun guy walking down the neighborhood picking up items as he goes. What is it that we're actually trying to launch, and what is the message overall? They couldn't take anything away for that. It also lacked a clear call to action. What do you want to do after you see this ad? So with these kind of put together, it wasn't an optimized ad overall, and we didn't get the best scores. having this, even though it was afterwards, really enabled us to be able to tell the team that, hey, we have some room to grow if we're trying to be not just using our money on ads to get people to know about DoorDash, but if we're trying to be known for something other than grocery or restaurant delivery, this isn't going to be the way. How do we do better? So next ad that we actually had was the following year, last year. This is our last year Super Bowl ad that also had a groceries focus. Let's see if you guys notice a kind of a difference in some of the learnings that they learned or didn't learn.
They ordered pineapple. You gotta smell the butt to know if it's right.
Hear that noise? Make it quiet.
Precious cream always in the bag.
Because cream rules everything around?
All right, chefs, we gotta go get the beans.
Think they asked for bake, bro.
Yeah, what I mean?
Chef, they definitely said pinto beans.
Actually, they want fava beans.
You're so good at this.
We get groceries. DoorDash.
See, much shorter ad, and we bought it last minute, so a good deal on that one. But, all right. What were the results on this one? Still not green across the board, as you can probably see, but a little bit better in some areas. So we had yellow on breakthrough, green on brand linkage, really clear linkage within there, and then yellow on behavior change. Let's see what we did well or not so well. So well on is we caught attention. We effectively displayed recognizable brand assets. So throughout, you actually see just the usage of color. It's like kind of like the Target ads. You can know it's a Target ad before you barely know that it barely came on the screen. So we did very well with that. Single-minded message, we get groceries. That's the whole ad. That's the whole thing. That's the only thing that we're talking about. We're in a grocery store. That did very well. What didn't do so well? We didn't really have a unique benefit. Why are you getting groceries from DoorDash? Like, you have groceries, but also I can get, candy at Home Depot. Am I going to use it for like Halloween candy shopping? Probably not. So what is that unique benefit? Why would you want to use us? As well as we didn't integrate the characters in an authentic way like we did with Sesame Street. So what you saw within here is I actually knew Wu-Tang, so I know the whole like cash rules, everything around me kind of thing. I didn't know he was an actual chef. Those two guys are actual chefs. I didn't know Little Chef, the little character. That's actually a famous character. I'm not on social media. Apparently the consumers didn't know them either. So we did not use the effectiveness with those characters overall, and that also hurt us. All right, but I can't leave you on like the ad that didn't do so well. We actually did end up many more rounds, different ads tested, and learning from the principles that we had. We actually just had our top scoring blew out of the water, one of the ads just this last month, so I thought I would share that with you. I think.
I know I've messed up in the past, but I want to say this to the family. From now on, there will be $0
delivery fee.
What?
With Dash Pass, you pay $0 delivery fee on DoorDash.
Is that what you were going to say?
No,
Guess how much I paid on delivery fee for this dinner and wine?
$0. A toast to zero.
Dash Pass, your door to $0 delivery fees. DoorDash.
I love that ad. Is when she said, "Is that what you were going to talk about?" It's so good. Anywho, this is our top breakthrough kind of ad overall, and it's actually our latest, what you see that your door to. That is actually our latest brand positioning that we are kind of like building off of, and this is really showing that work from the beginning of when we tested, when I first started in 2021 to 2024, where we're actually learning from the past ones, and this one we actually do creative development. So we start at just the ideas, to script testing, to final testing, and that's where you're kind of seeing here the benefit of those insights throughout being able to produce that. All right, and then the last part here, the last bullet, the double number 2 or number 3 on that slide, is ad hoc lifestyle research. So one of the things that we wanted to really, or one of the ways that we thought that we can expand what the brand is associated with is, why don't you take the different moments throughout the years and really associate DoorDash with that? So what I mean by that, there's all these holidays and occasions that people are experiencing throughout the year. If we can authentically have an insight that really gets us into what consumers are experiencing, then we will be able to kind of associate ourselves with other things. One of the ways that we do that is through doing holiday research before holidays exist. So right now, anytime before like Valentine's Day or after Valentine's Day, we do research before and after to really understand what are the authentic and thoughtful things that consumers are feeling emotionally, and how can we actually use what the brand does to throw on top of that in order to kind of be more authentic and connect with our consumers overall. So how that has come to life, One of the work that we did came up with this one insight overall where summer often invokes nostalgia for summers of the past. Now, it wasn't like a consumer came out and said this line overall. What we actually heard from consumers in research when we were talking about like, what do you think about summer? Like, tell us about summer overall. And what that kind of came about was they were like, ooh, they started mentioning different products that they had as a kid. Some of these like bring me way back, like Capri Suns and the Chia Seeds overall, as well as some of the games that they like to play as kids and such. They also mentioned songs that they loved at the time, which I really love this. This is the list of songs that they say are like they're in their summer jams. So you see the like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for summertime and Fireball, Crazy in Love. Beyonce is on every list, even back in the day. And overall, what we picked up from this research was everyone's thinking about the times of the past, and they're very nostalgic, which works for us because our consumer group is really big within millennials. So we connected the dots and put those two together and came up with our Summer Dash Pass campaign, which is a big campaign that we do. It's kind of like Prime Day, but what we do throughout the summertime is we actually launch deals throughout each of the weeks. And as you can see here, just from the imagery that you're seeing, it's very pop color. It kind of just naturally gives you a summertime feel, summertime vibe, and takes you back in the day overall. And we launched a commercial, which should take you back as well. Well, some people back as well with the characters.
Got it. Oh, this is gonna be the best summer ever.
What did you just say?
What are you doing here?
You better not be saying that this summer is going to be better than the one that we spent together, buddy. I mean, the parties, the pranks, the wet stuff.
You lost me on that last one, but yeah, that was fun. Although I didn't have Dash Pass back then.
I get 5 weeks of exclusive deals.
I mean, this is incredible.
That's the second best thing that's ever happened in my mouth.
It's like they're making a bunch of little flavor babies in there.
Please don't say that.
Are you throwing a party? You didn't invite me? No. Hey, we gotta wake this party up. Hey, everybody, let's go in the pool.
Best your best summer with Summer of Dash Pass. Sign up now.
So those are two characters from American Pie. If you didn't already see, we actually tested that because, you know, some things don't really play out in today's days of age of like in American Pie, but people really liked it. It really brought them back to that summertime. It was nostalgic for the millennial consumer, and that really, really worked very well overall for this campaign. And it connected, and we had actual results from people who interacted with our promos much better than the prior year. The second example that we have here is back to school, where we have the insight that we actually used was that over 60% of parents say their biggest challenge during back to school is preparing for and adjusting to the new post-summer routine. And with the mental load already stretched thin, more than half say they place in higher value on convenience and solutions to help them navigate it all. So it was really this emphasis on transitioning into back to school. It's like, I'm so happy the kids are going back to school. I'm so frantic because the kids are going back to school and that routine change. So we actually launched this campaign called Don't Go Back.
Mike, do you hear that?
Is that a back to school commercial? It's too early.
Mommy, why are they dancing?
Nobody knows. Come on. I need pens, boulders, string cheese, tiny oranges.
Where's the list?
Relax. Just order all your school supplies and lunch stuff on DoorDash and get it in an hour less. Can I get another lemonade?
So it was this whole like, don't want to go back to summertime. Everyone really loved the like little oranges kind of overall. This tested very well, and it was really to get associated with back to school products, supplies and such, very, very different from restaurant. And then a final example here that actually the YCCI group actually helped us with was Easter. So we were launching our Easter campaign, and one of the insights that we picked up from the multitude of different research here was Easter is kind of like the holiday hall pass. It's like fun and easy, enjoyable, but it doesn't require too much thought or too much pressure. It's that one holiday that consumers can enjoy however they want and not feel bad about it. So we kept getting this feedback. If you think about like the winter holidays of Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and such, people are just so anxious about all the gifts you got to get and all the money that you have to spend. But Easter's kind of like, if you want to do a really big egg hunt, you could do that. If you want to do nothing, you could do that as well. And so people are really taking advantage of that. So we actually launched our Easter kind of social execution, which is really about this ease into Easter. So as you could kind of see within here, some of the imagery was really talking about how easy things are, linking it to our new overall branding of your door to less fret, more frolic, and really doing these kind of fun play-ups of like, are you team gummy or are you team chocolate candies as it relates to Easter candy. And again, this is just all about how do you actually get the insight itself using the research, and then how do you actually see that executing in the visuals. And as a result, we finally have some of the results that we're kind of seeing. So from that first time where I showed you in the 2021 to where we are today. So following that Super Bowl ad that we get groceries, even though it wasn't the highest scoring ad, it was a higher scoring ad than the prior year. And what we actually saw is we saw significantly more adults were aware of DoorDash deliver groceries. Just right after that, we actually grew 17% higher of association with knowing that we have groceries, and we've actually kept that up. We also saw significantly more adults aware that DoorDash delivers more than restaurant food. So we actually track a multitude of categories, as I said, and we track just, are you just aware of anything other than restaurant? And we actually saw an 8% increase from that after that Super Bowl ad, even though it was about groceries. And the best part about it all is that we have maintained this awareness since this jump, which is something that you don't always see. Sometimes you see a up and you kind of go down. And this is kind of a visual representation of where we are today. So just a couple years after, this was actually from 2023. So a couple years after that first one, that white space is actually the increase that we're seeing in those 2 years, which may not seem like a lot, but it actually takes a lot to really associate your brand with different categories, and we're continuing to grow. And so you will actually see that in the different campaigns that we have today, and hopefully in the few ones that you saw kind of the progress that we have made overall. And I'm way over my time. So I'm at the questions part of things, but thank you very much for listening to my talk.
We could take a couple questions.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, I love questions. This is talk show time. Okay.
So how about not awareness, but actual behavior? What is the actual behavior that you changed and that contributed to the bottom line of the business?
Yeah, so the last time I checked, I don't know the exact number, but the last time I checked, we actually now have 30% of our about 30% of our consumers actually have ordered something other than restaurants. So we do not only, we know that the entry level is that awareness, but we actually do see the baskets changing. And then grocery has been the biggest, best one starting off, because that is kind of that natural, like from food to a different type of food. And it's been really incremental for us to entryway to other places.
One last one.
Yeah.
Hi again. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much. That was really fun, and you're a great presenter.
Thank you.
I found it so interesting in that first slide of your history where it comes up at Insights comes in play at 9 years in.
Right.
Right?
Tell me about
yeah,
it.
So thank goodness. I've seen that happen a lot with companies of this age where it's coming in about 7 to 9 years in.
Yeah.
My question to you is, I can tell in the work since the time you've been there, it seems like you have a great relationship with the in-house studio in terms of how you're briefing in. Can you talk a little bit about how you work with the studio teams and the in-house creatives?
Oh, absolutely. And I have learned, like any business that kind of starts from an operations standpoint, Insights marketing is only 2 years earlier than when I came in, like as a whole function, which is very interesting. So I agree with you on that. So actually, one of the biggest things that enables this stuff happening, one of the things I didn't show you guys, is that from the time that we do research to the time we're actually giving it to the teams sometimes, and most of the times, is in less than a week. Like I have had to do crazy timelines. I remember P&G, I had 6 months to kind of deliver things. Here's like 1 week, that's all you get. So the first off, the best way that we have been working with the studios is how do I set up how do we actually have research tools that enable us to get really quick feedback so that we can meet their timeline and not get them off? So that's been a really perfect thing for their kind of interaction. And briefs, setting up a process for briefs. So we actually have set up a whole insights kind of process from the start to the end of like when a person tells us what their early story is, what do they kind of fill out, what are their questions that they're looking at, and then that helps us translate to the methodology. And then since we have set up panels and different things that tools we can use, it helps us activate fast. So that is actually the only way that they actually introduced us and let us at the table, because we were quick overall. So they had no reason not to. And then once you get like a CMO telling them like, oh, I want the research, all of a sudden everybody wants research. So it's very nice. Thank you for that. And thank you guys so much.